Jack Tree. What's up?
Hello, Kazu. How are you?
I'm good. What would you say is your job? Like, what do you do now?
So I guess mainly is freelance production assistant. Just kind of trying to find gigs in all sorts of realms, I suppose. Commercials, looking for feature stuff. Obviously, reality TV, as you know. But also like live events, like the SPs, stuff like that. Just been trying kind of everything in the gamut, I guess. And then at night, obviously, podcast editor.
Oh, right. Yeah, which I forget that you do.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I've had constantly since I moved out here. So it's like kind of the backbone of all of it. So
what shows have you done so far?
in PA
In PAing, yeah.
America's Got Talent and America's Got Talent All Stars.
Yeah.
Masked Singer, the ESPYs.
Cool.
My first job was a little dance special with the Huff siblings called Step Into the Movies.
I didn't know. That's cool.
It was like an Oscars pre-show thing, but it played like the day before the Oscars. It wasn't like part of the
actual award.
Yeah, it wasn't part of the ceremony, which was still cool and all. That was my first thing. I did the People's Choice Awards. I did The Bachelor.
Really?
For a little bit. Those are all the big ones. And then
I didn't know you did so many other ones. Like, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense that I haven't seen you in those shows, but like, right. I just didn't realize how many you've done because I knew you did Masked Singer. I know obviously you did AGT, but it might depend on the show. But what essentially what do you do like in these jobs? I guess.
Yeah. Well, I guess every PA kind of gets like analyzed by the people who are bossing them around and sees kind of what they can do. Like, for instance, my roommate. She's also a PA, Grace.
Yeah.
She's better at like organizing face-to-face stuff, so she's usually in the offices and like signage, communications, just kind of keeping the office organized and stocked, stuff like that. But like some things that I typically do are not things that Grace would typically do. Like she isn't usually driving the box trucks or like doing a lot of loading and unloading, which is a lot of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which is just like move heavy thing somewhere.
Yeah.
But also like just keeping departmental needs like fulfilled, just basically taskmasters and chore doers for people who have better things to do, I guess, more important jobs.
Yeah.
At least on paper.
On paper, yeah.
Yeah, which is strangely really satisfying, I find. So,
did you?
Yeah.
What part, just like getting things done kind of, or?
Yeah, like when you find out that like this menial task to you actually like had an impact on that day's production, like you don't really notice when you're doing it until after, and you're like, oh, this wouldn't have even been here to like have these guys dismantle today if we didn't drive it over and stuff.
Right.
Like
so you realize like what you do actually affected the production or had an actual outcome because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, in like some serious ways sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Out of all the PA gigs you did, what do you think was like the most enjoyable one so far?
Like the show?
I guess which show or what task?
I like the Masked Singer a lot just because I really like the location. Well, I like the people a lot. Like the production offices, I'm really pretty close with them. And they were my first like kind of recurring gig.
Okay.
And it's been, the same people since I started, which is wonderful. And I really like the location of shooting at Red Studios. It's just kind of a small...
It's over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a smaller lot. I mean, you get to know everybody really quickly just because you're around everybody the whole day. I don't know, it really doesn't feel like work when I'm there ever, so...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the Masked Singer is the one that you do the most, like take on the most tasks?
Yeah.
As a PA? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think... It was closer, like my America's Got Talent stuff was pretty close to the Masked Singer stuff until I started doing reality stuff with AGT.
Okay, yeah, I was going to get into that, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the difference between what you do, maybe start with what you do at AGT and then kind of go into what you do at Masked Singer and kind of compare the two? Yeah,
so at AGT now, I do stuff on the reality side in the interview spaces.
Right.
That's basically it. It's just interview.
Yeah, I see you there all the time.
And then just like crowd control of contestants in the back, and no one wants to sit where I need them to sit, but I got to fill backgrounds and make sure all their answers to all of my producers' questions are jotted down, so that when it's when time comes to edit together a story, they know what ends up being answered and what didn't, so they know like, we don't go down a path that won't have a result or like won't have a conclusion later in the interview.
So are you also transcribing like the answers? Because I think I saw you doing that, but
yeah, I won't like write down everything they say, but I'll shorthand what I think are the most important answers, and then at the end I'll take out the stuff that just ended up bloating, the interview a little bit that it never came back around, so that when they use the notes later in the edit, they're not like looking at stuff that they can't use,
Yeah, right. So kind of notating. And then at Masked Singer, do you do a similar thing, or what do you?
Masked Singer's kind of like, you just kind of do everything as a PA there. It's, it's going on a bunch of runs, doing a bunch of lunch orders, but also like getting the lighting guys bulbs and making sure that everything is charged in the office, and making sure everyone's like outlets are being protected because people are grabbing everybody's chargers. Like it's little,
more little, like everything.
Yeah, more just everything. Lots of variety in the things that you need to do, especially when the audience is coming in,
right?
Because we shoot live there too. It's just like a lot of then you have to do a bunch of audience stuff, with setting things up for them, a whole different crafty setup and tents and everything, and making sure the line works. And
both are great shows, but as far as your tasks, which one do you enjoy more?
I think that AGT is easier.
Okay.
Because the reality side, just being kind of more tame. But I don't know if that means that I like it more. I think the day kind of creeps by at AGT because it is so much of the same thing. And that same thing is an enjoyable and easy to do thing, but it's like, Masked Singer, I'll do like 4 or 5 different things in an hour,
Yeah.
And that hour's gone. And like it felt like
busier.
It felt like I affected things more than when I was just doing the same task the whole day,
I see. But that's that's so interesting, because like what you do in AGT, potentially, like you tell me if I'm wrong, but you might learn more about like how to do the interviews, and like the interviews really well now, and how our show works as far as interviews go. So it's like, I feel like you can argue that experience is a little bit more valuable as far as like career if you're trying to get
if you want to do
reality
that side of stuff.
Is that kind of how you think is like?
Yeah, I mean, when it's interesting too, because on All Stars I was with the same producer and doing reality stuff, but it was totally different. I would do notes during interviews, and then we would do reality shoot days where we would just like make little packages.
Totally, yeah.
So that even was like a bit more broad. I think between that season, All Stars, most current AGT season, in Masked Singer, I would take my All Stars tasks over.
Oh, okay. I remember you do, because you're in the back all the time, so you were kind of facilitating like the shots, huh? Like a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, and then like I would have to interact with the contestants way more, and just like, I would know their stories really well too. So when the interview came around, if there was stuff that like didn't get covered, I would be able to know that without reading a bunch of notes,
So you took a little more ownership.
Yeah, I had like the chance to be a bit more of a shot caller, I suppose.
Right, right. How did you get into the job you're doing now, which is PAing at these shows? Like, how did you get into that?
Yeah, so like I was saying, the first like PA gig I got was 6 months into my time being here, and I had been looking that whole time,
Yeah.
I just didn't know anybody because I just moved from Kansas. I just didn't have a lot of connections.
KC?
Yeah, from Kansas City.
Which is Missouri, no?
Yeah, but I was from the Kansas side.
Oh, wait. There's a Kansas side of Kansas City, but I swear I always make fun of people who are like, not from Kansas City, but like people who say Kansas City is in Kansas, because I was like, no, it's in Missouri. And like I'd make fun of them for not knowing that, but there is a Kansas side.
It's that the reason it gets so confused, or is so confusing, is downtown Kansas City is on the Missouri side, but like that state border runs through the actual city border, so it's like all of the stuff is on the Missouri side, but there is like land from on the Kansas.
Is that technically suburbs then?
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of suburbs.
So where you're from is the Kansas side. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. So you moved from there.
Didn't know anybody really, so it was just hard to find work. Because you can find stuff on networks like Mandy, I guess, and Staff Me Up and stuff. But I didn't know that when I got here. So, I was just waiting for someone to have an idea, really. My roommate did. My roommate, Grace, got me my first job because they just needed someone to drive the box truck. And I was like, I've never done that before. I'll try it.
Yeah.
And just started on the first day. I just started driving the truck and had to pick up all the stuff from Panavision, which was like my first task. I was just like, whoa, I'm in Panavision. This is so crazy. And I was just like, oh, so this is what it's like, I guess.
How do you...
Seeing all the camera gear all boxed up in the back of the truck and knowing that like I had to get it there, like all together, you know?
Yeah, and
by
if you
myself,
didn't,
yeah.
and there would be no cameras.
And also like it's over for me.
Yeah.
Was really nerve-wracking, but
right.
It went off without a hitch. And from there, I just kept getting thing after thing from the people I met on that thing. So like Connor Tracy.
Connor, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was on
the
that
Tracy
too.
threw me off.
That Connor was on the Step Into the movie special as the key PA. And he brought me back on for the ESPYs, and then met someone who did Masked Singer, and then someone from there brought me to AGT.
Oh, so you met someone from Masked Singer at ESPYs. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Step Into the Movies got you to ESPYs. ESPYs, you just met someone there. Yeah. Like, it's not like you knew anyone there. So you met someone from Masked Singer. Was it like just like someone who worked at Masked Singer?
Mm-hmm. They were just like looking for PAs. It wasn't another PA. It was just someone who was staffing for them for that season.
Okay, and then you met them, brought you over to Masked Singer. You worked there. Mm-hmm. And then how long before you got to AGT?
There was someone else on the ESPYs who was doing credentials for AGT.
Oh, okay.
And Jasmine, I think, just asked them if they knew anybody.
Oh, okay. So everything.
Quick.
Yeah, so quick. Like, you just got one thing and it kind of rolled. So it's like the ultimate, like, foot in the door.
Yeah. So the first 3 months I had 6 or 7 different gigs, and a lot of them were short, but still, like, I had just done half a year with 0, you know?
Yeah.
And then it was like, so...
Yeah. Dang, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. It's like, I know that our industry is like that, obviously, but it's like, it all comes down to who you know and like,
yeah,
if they'll just refer you for like another, especially I feel like starting out. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy that it just kind of rolled into like within like, you said 3 months. Like,
yeah.
So since then, you said Masked Singer is like your first recurring. So how have you kind of been like in a year? Like, how does your year go?
So
being freelance.
Yeah, in this first year, I guess we've just basically completed this past March was like that had meant a year of PAing.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, now it's May, so it's like I've done a year and 1 month basically of it. But Masked Singer and AGT both shoot twice in a year, you know?
Yeah.
Because Masked Singer shoots 2 seasons, just 2 regular seasons in a year, and they switch off. So it's like I'll finish Masked Singer. A month later, AGT will start. Right after that, the next Masked Singer will go.
Yeah, I remember you going to Masked Singer like right before.
Yeah.
AGT. Okay, so it worked out.
Yeah, so they pieced together really well. Like having those two.
That's so interesting.
Those 2 gigs like is pretty perfect. And then I'll just do like I've been doing the past couple of weeks is just like 1 or 2 day commercial shoots, and then the podcast obviously at all times in between everything. So.
What's the longest months where you're not like, you know, doing AGT or Masked Singer? Like
probably just like right under 2, like 1.5 months at the end of the summer. It'll be like, yeah.
What do you think about that? Like freelance, like, is there something, this can be any answer, like, is there something that you push the envelope for right now in our industry, specifically maybe even freelance?
I guess like when I first started, I had no real idea, like if there was anything that I cared about other than just like the work as it is. And I think the thing that I've kind of become attached to, and you'll probably be able to speak to this, is like, I feel like the people have to just like really kind of stand up for each other and like stay connected outside of work.
Totally.
To make this work for the people who like are like freelancing like me, who like find, like as I just talked about, like the way that I got all these jobs was just from like me connecting with those people and them thinking that I could connect with people at this other thing, so that's why I'm there, you know?
Yeah.
So I think like something I noticed from the first few jobs and have held on to is just like, you gotta treat like your coworkers kind of like they're more than coworkers, or else you're paying the price for, I mean, like if you don't hear anything about work for like 6 or 7 weeks, even though you've worked all these jobs, one of the reasons is probably like,
they
didn't try to meet any of the people who were there.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And just like keeping people from past jobs and introducing them to people at new jobs, because I might not have time or be a fit for something, but they could be, and they don't have the connection made without me or someone else putting them together. Since it's such like a communal effort to make anything in production, you know, it just seems like other like unionized positions know this and have like become the communities that they are, but this like early, like these starting positions just don't really seem super connected.
Yeah.
Because they're always just trying to find the next thing, you know? And that is how it works. You have to make money and get food and live and stuff.
Yeah.
So I understand.
You have to eat.
not taking the time, but I just think that if the norm was to take the time to meet everyone, then it would just be an easier uphill battle, I guess. Still uphill, but an easier one.
So just essentially kind of like not necessarily networking, but like making friends.
Yeah, like really actually trying to pull the people you've worked with together. Yeah.
And the importance of that. Right. And do you find it hard? I mean, I guess you've been fairly good about it and you haven't had like a year of not finding anything, but like, do you find it hard being freelance? Is that tough for you?
Yeah. I mean, I really
like it.
I like it.
Okay.
It's hard, but I like it. I mean, there's all these inherent risks with being freelance, I guess, but like, I don't need to list those. There's just like obviously dangers to it.
Stability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like it because I do think that like if you can build yourself a sense of community, you don't really feel that detached from work, really. Like you can find things if you really need it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I feel like the unscripted side especially is like very communal, and like especially because the shows are kind of similar. It's like like AGT applies a lot of things to Masked Singer, and Masked Singer applies to The Voice, and like it's all so connected. I feel like it's even like Kayla.
Oh, The Voice. You know? Funny you'd bring that up. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Like even when I met your friends, like who worked at The Voice and The Wall or whatever, like I knew exactly what their show was, and like knew people there and knew people who work for that show already, even though I've never worked on that show.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. Is there anything that you think you would improve about either entertainment or freelance in general? I
mean, freelancing is hard because there are like so many things that, I mean, just like the nature of freelancing is difficult because of, like you're saying, like the instability of it and all.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think that I would change that because like there are jobs you can get where freelancing is the farthest thing from it, you know?
Totally.
And if you're choosing not to do those things and you're choosing to do, you know, day playing and stuff, you get the benefits and the cons of that. And it's like, if you have to weigh it yourself, kind of, if you can't freelance, or freelancing like destroys your lifestyle, then like, you'll have to probably find something else. Right. But for people who can like build their life around freelancing, I think it really works for them. Like it really works for me and my roommates, and we haven't exactly run into like a super hard time with it yet. Maybe when I do, it'll be different, but it's like, I think the hardest time of freelancing is like the first couple of months, because that's when you have the least connections, and it only gets easier from there. So if you can just figure it out for half a year, you'll be not set, but you'll be in pretty good hands.
Okay, so you're fairly positive about this whole, like, because I feel like my other friend who hasn't struggled that much with work either, he got really into like labor laws and like the work day, and like, he was really like, you'll see because it'll be the same episode, like and that's why I actually wanted to do not just like a Jack episode. I want to do a freelance episode because there's so many different perspectives on it, and he was like super passionate about like the barrier to entry.
Does he work in reality TV?
No, he works more in cinematography and.
Well, there you have it.
I guess that's a good segue. Like, I mean, you haven't worked scripted, right?
Never.
So, what do you like about unscripted? What do you think is about unscripted?
It feels like more of a friendly work environment, I feel like, than scripted stuff. Like the intensity between an AGT day and like a day on like a huge movie shoot or something, I feel like just wouldn't even be close.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I don't know. I haven't worked in those conditions, so I don't know. But it just seems like everyone who does do scripted stuff that I know, like, is just fried constantly.
Yeah.
I get off of 8 in a day at AGT, and I don't feel like that, you know?
Yeah. So it seems like you're fairly satisfied right now with the industry, and like, is there anything that you think, like, entertainment, like, we can get broader now, like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
think should be better.
Yeah, the reason I think that my stance comes off as like pretty satisfied, you know, is just because like my responsibility versus like my responsibility versus the value of my work, I think they're pretty close right now, you know. Like I think if I was in a position where the show was more mine, I would like have reason, I think, to look for issues in it, because it's something that I'm creating. I would want to be perfectionist about it, you know?
Yeah.
But as someone who kind of just works mostly as just like a tiny piece in it, you know, which I'm very comfortable being a tiny piece. It's a learning experience in every way. I don't find the need to pick it apart as much.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because you're like hopping around productions, so it's not like you're like insanely invested in one.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
It's still more of like a field than it's like I haven't been hired on to something that has become my job yet. I've just been like getting jobs.
Yeah. I get that. Like that makes a lot of sense now, but you still must feel personal about something, right? Like this landscape of the actual job market, or like you might be like, well, this should be better. I guess not really.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried to get out of the area that I'm in yet, because I'm like I'm enjoying it and I'm just fine with it, and I haven't really felt the need to try anything else. If I was not getting as much work, needed something that was higher paying, you know, then maybe I would be digging for that some more.
Right.
But I've just been having so much fun doing it that it's like I don't really want to alter anything.
Okay. Right, well, maybe that's like an answer in itself then. Like,
I guess.
Well, because I mean,
a blind answer.
No, I mean it's good. I guess I haven't gotten that answer yet.
Yeah.
That means that either the entertainment industry or unscripted industry, and what you're doing, you're satisfied. Like that's an answer in itself, I guess.
Yeah. Like, and I think like with time, being satisfied with the job becomes harder just as time goes on. Yeah. Because it's still so fresh to me, and I just like don't really know enough to know like what solutions could be found. Like I just don't want to like speak on them and just make stuff up than like say just how I feel, which is just kind of like I don't know yet, and I'm fine with that.
Because you're in your first year, so you just finished like your first year.
And half of that time I spent not even working, you know, because it was scattered jobs.
Oh, interesting. That'll be interesting to see like in a year or two how you feel. Right. Like I hopefully I'll still be doing this.
Yeah, that would be cool.
One thing I can see being something that you might say is like upward mobility. Yeah. I mean, you haven't just thought about it yet, or you know, because you're just starting as well. But do you see any potential issues with upward mobility? I do work with a lot of people who are kind of in the later stages of their career and still doing the same job that I am. Yeah. You know, there's one guy who's like mid 40s to late 40s and still is a PA, and he claims to love it. But he's definitely tried to do other things before and just hasn't gotten there, you know? So I can see, like, that's kind of seems suspicious, right? That he's still there. Not that he's there, but that he's doing what I'm doing as someone who's... when I started Masked Singer, I'd only been doing this for 8 weeks. Right. So, but... Until I try it, like, I just don't know. 2 years ago, when I was still in Kansas before I moved here, I was delivering for Amazon. Oh, really? Before I moved. So it's like...
it's just hard for me to find things to complain about so quickly because it's just so
like not
Amazon.
Wait, so what made you come over here? Like,
I always wanted to move out here.
Really?
Yeah. When I was in college, I was doing all film classes and stuff. I always planned on moving out to LA to continue doing that. But like, because of COVID and stuff, I had to push back my move a year, and I was like, well, I need to make money somehow for a year. And I didn't want to get a job that I wouldn't want to leave. So I did Amazon.
So you lived at home too?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lived at home and did Amazon for just exactly 1 year, August to August, and then moved out here August 24th of that year. So.
Oh, wow. 2021? Mm-hmm. Were you always looking to come here and do entertainment, or were you just trying to get here?
Yeah, it was definitely something in entertainment. I didn't know if I wanted to be on set, do something like at an agency. I figured I would decide that out here after trying everything. And I've just like kind of really clicked into the lifestyle of being on set and just the way that production works. So far just has been everything I wanted and more. So
fell into it, but you loved it. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I feel like I never really like asked you about that. Like not sitting down and be like, hey man, when'd you get here? You know, I mean, I might have asked you that, but like,
when'd you get
here? Why'd you come here? You know, like,
were you
trying to be in entertainment? Yeah. What the hell are you doing? Yeah. You're from Kansas? Not even the Missouri side?
Well, I was born on the Missouri side, actually.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.